The silver ship appeared without warning above New York City. It was massive, stretching nearly 2 miles from end to end, its surface smooth like polished metal. The ship hung in the sky as if gravity meant nothing to it. Within hours, similar ships appeared over London, Tokyo, Moscow, and Beijing. Sarah Chen stood at the window of her laboratory at the United Nations headquarters, watching the alien vessel hover silently above Manhattan. As Earth's lead scientist for extraterrestrial contact, she had spent years preparing for this moment, but seeing it happen felt completely different from all her training. "Dr. Chen, they're sending a message," her assistant called out from across the room. "It's coming through every communication system on the planet at once." The message was simple and terrifying. A voice spoke in perfect English, then repeated the same words in every major language on Earth. The speaker's tone was cold and matter-of-fact, like someone reading a shopping list. "People of Earth, I am Ambassador Vel Thar of the Galactic Hegemony. Your species has been observed and evaluated. You are dangerous, violent, and unfit for membership in civilized galactic society. You have 30 of your days to submit to our guidance or face correction. This is not a negotiation." The message ended as suddenly as it began. Around the world, governments went into emergency sessions. Military leaders scrambled to assess the threat. Scientists tried to understand technology that seemed impossible. Sarah's phone rang constantly. Every news station wanted to interview her. World leaders demanded answers she didn't have. But one call stood out from the rest. "Dr. Chen, this is General Morrison from the Pentagon. We need you in Washington immediately. Something's happening that you need to see." 2 hours later, Sarah sat in a secure briefing room deep beneath the Pentagon. Around the table were military leaders, scientists, and intelligence officials from dozens of countries. The room hummed with tension and barely controlled fear. "Tell me what you know about these aliens," General Morrison said, his weathered face grim. Sarah pulled up her research on the large screen. "Based on the energy signatures from their ships, they're using technology we don't understand. Their power source alone generates more energy than our entire electrical grid. The materials their ships are made from don't match anything in our periodic table." "What about their message?" asked Dr. Petrov from Russia. "This galactic hegemony they mentioned?" "That's what worries me most," Sarah replied. "They didn't come here to trade or explore. They came to judge us. And apparently we failed their test." General Morrison leaned forward. "Can we fight them?" "With what?" Sarah spread her hands. "Their smallest ship could probably destroy our largest city. We're like ants trying to fight humans." But even as she said the words, something felt wrong about them. Over the next few days, as the world waited for the alien ultimatum to end, something unexpected began to happen. Instead of falling apart in panic, humanity started coming together. Countries that had been enemies for decades began sharing information. Scientists from different nations worked together around the clock. Military forces that had never cooperated started joint training exercises. Sarah found herself at the center of this cooperation. Her small office became the hub for a worldwide network of researchers, all focused on understanding the alien threat. Sleep became a luxury she couldn't afford. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," her assistant Marcus said, bursting into her office on the 5th day after the aliens arrived. He looked excited and terrified at the same time. "What is it?" "The Chinese managed to get a high-resolution scan of the ship over Beijing. Look at this." Marcus pulled up an image on her computer. Sarah studied the scan, her heart racing. The alien ship wasn't just hovering, it was slowly scanning the city below with some kind of energy beam. "They're mapping us, learning everything about our defenses, our technology, our population centers." "That's not the scary part," Marcus said. "Look at this data from the energy beam." Sarah examined the readings and felt her blood turn cold. "This isn't a scanning beam, it's a targeting system. They're not here to judge us or guide us. They're preparing to destroy us. She grabbed her phone and called General Morrison. General, we need an emergency meeting, now. I think the aliens have been lying to us from the beginning. 3 hours later, the same group of world leaders gathered in the Pentagon briefing room. This time, the mood was different. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Anger. Sarah stood at the front of the room, her findings displayed on the screen behind her. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been studying the alien ships for 5 days. I can now tell you with certainty that they didn't come here to offer us membership in their galactic society. They came here to exterminate us. The room erupted in voices. Sarah waited for quiet, then continued. Their ships aren't designed for peaceful contact. They're weapons. The energy beams they've been using to scan our cities are actually targeting systems. They're mapping everything they need to destroy human civilization completely. President Martinez of the United States stood up. Are you saying the 30-day ultimatum is meaningless? I'm saying it was never real. They're using the time to study us, to make sure they don't miss anything when they attack. General Morrison's face was grim. Then we need to act first. With what weapons? Asked the British Prime Minister. Dr. Chen said herself that we can't match their technology. Sarah had been thinking about this problem for days. Now she had an answer, though it scared her to say it out loud. We can't match their technology, but we don't have to. They've made one critical mistake. They think they understand us, but they don't understand us at all. She clicked to the next slide, showing communications data from around the world. Look at what's happened since they arrived. Every war on Earth has stopped. Every territorial dispute has been put on hold. Countries that couldn't agree on trade deals are now sharing their most classified military secrets. The aliens expected us to panic and fight each other. Instead, we've united faster than any species in galactic history. She paused, looking around the room at faces from every continent, every major power on Earth. They think we're primitive and chaotic. They're right about the chaotic part. But that chaos is our strength. We don't think like they do. We don't fight like they do. And we definitely don't give up like they expect us to. The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, General Morrison spoke. What are you suggesting, Dr. Chen? Sarah took a deep breath. I'm suggesting we show them exactly how dangerous we can be when we work together. We have 25 days before they attack. Let's make sure they regret giving us that much time. Outside the Pentagon, the alien ship continued its silent watch over Washington. Its crew believed they were observing a primitive species in its final days. They had no idea they were watching humanity prepare for war. The 30-day countdown had begun, but the aliens had made a fatal error. They thought Earth would crumble under pressure. They were about to learn that humans had never been very good at doing what others expected. The first alien attack came on day 18. Not the full assault everyone expected, but what Ambassador Velthar called a demonstration of consequences. 3 military bases in remote locations simply vanished. No explosions, no debris. They were there one moment and gone the next. Sarah Chen watched the satellite footage from the command center that had been built beneath the Pentagon in just 2 weeks. The construction crews had worked around the clock, using techniques shared freely between nations that had been keeping military secrets for decades. Energy displacement weapons, she said, studying the readings. They didn't destroy those bases. They moved them somewhere else, probably into space where they would be destroyed by vacuum. General Morrison nodded grimly. Their way of showing us what happens to those who resist. But they made a mistake. How so? They gave us a demonstration of their technology. And you know what humans do with technology we see, Dr. Chen? Sarah smiled for the first time in days. We figure out how to copy it. The alien demonstration had the opposite effect from what Velthar intended. Instead of terrifying humanity into submission, it provided crucial intelligence. Every sensor on Earth had been focused on those 3 locations when the aliens struck. Now, human scientists had detailed readings of how the alien weapons worked. Captain Marcus Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned EDS Defiance, humanity's first warship, designed specifically to fight aliens. The ship looked like nothing that had ever flown before. Part aircraft carrier, part space station, part missile platform. It had been built in just 16 days, using resources and expertise from every major nation on Earth. "Captain, we're receiving the mission briefing," his communications officer reported. Rodriguez nodded. His crew was as mixed as his ship. The pilot was from Japan. His weapons officer was German. His engineer was from Nigeria. His tactical officer was from Brazil. 3 weeks ago, military cooperation between these nations would have been impossible. Now they worked together as naturally as if they had trained together for years. "Put it on screen," Rodriguez ordered. Sarah Chen's face appeared on the main display. She was broadcasting from the Joint Command Center to 12 similar ships around the world. "Captains, our mission is simple. We're going to hit back. Intelligence indicates the aliens have a monitoring station on the dark side of the moon. It's been observing Earth and coordinating their scanning operations. We're going to destroy it." Rodriguez felt his heart race. Humanity's first strike against an alien target. The plan was insane, dangerous, and probably suicidal. It was also the most human thing he could imagine. "The alien station is defended, but not heavily. They don't expect us to be capable of reaching it. That's their first mistake. Their second mistake is assuming we'll fight fair." Sarah's image was replaced by technical diagrams. The alien station was beautiful in its design. Elegant curves and flowing lines that seemed to grow naturally from the lunar surface. It looked like art. Rodriguez planned to turn it into debris. "All ships report ready, Captain," his tactical officer announced. "Then let's go show our alien friends what humans do when pushed into a corner." The 12 ships launched simultaneously from hidden bases around the world. They flew low and fast, using every stealth technique human engineers could devise. The ships themselves were invisible to most sensors, their hulls coated with materials that absorbed energy rather than reflecting it. More importantly, they carried weapons the aliens would never expect. "Sir, we're approaching the target," the pilot announced. Rodriguez looked at the alien station through his ship's cameras. It was even more beautiful up close, like a crystal flower blooming from the gray lunar surface. He almost felt bad about what he was going to do to it. Almost. "All ships, this is Defiance Actual. Begin attack run. Remember, hit them hard, hit them fast, and don't give them time to think." The human ships opened fire with weapons that would have seemed primitive to the aliens. No energy beams, no displacement fields, no exotic particles. Just good old-fashioned kinetic projectiles. Chunks of dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The alien shields, designed to stop energy weapons, had no defense against a telephone pole-sized piece of tungsten traveling at 20,000 miles per hour. The first projectile punched through the station's shields as if they weren't there. The second and third followed, tearing massive holes in the elegant structure. Within seconds, the beautiful alien station was coming apart. "Direct hits across all sections," the weapons officer reported. "The station is collapsing." Rodriguez watched the alien structure crumble and felt a grim satisfaction. Humanity had drawn first blood. But the real victory came 3 hours later, when Sarah Chen's team examined the data transmitted from the dying station. "My God," Sarah whispered, staring at her computer screen. "Marcus, look at this." Her assistant Marcus leaned over her shoulder. "What am I looking at?" "Communications logs from the station. It's been in contact with the alien ships in orbit. But look at these message timestamps." Marcus studied the data, and his eyes widened. "They've been reporting our every move to their ships for weeks, but the reports are all wrong." Sarah nodded, her excitement growing. "The aliens have been completely misunderstanding everything they observed. They think our global cooperation is a sign of hive mind control. They think our mixed military units show weakness rather than strength. They have no idea what they're Really facing. She pulled up another file. And look at this. Internal communications between alien commanders. They're arguing among themselves about strategy. They can't agree on how to handle us, because they've never faced anything like us before, Marcus said. Exactly. Every species in their galactic empire follows predictable patterns. They conquer through superior technology and expect immediate surrender from species that can't match their weapons. They've never dealt with a species stubborn enough to fight back with inferior technology. The success of the moon base attack triggered something unexpected across Earth's population. Instead of celebration, there was a quiet, determined anger. The aliens had tried to terrorize humanity into submission with their demonstration. Instead, they had proven that they could be hurt. Over the next 5 days, similar attacks struck alien positions across the solar system. Small monitoring posts, communication relays, and sensor platforms, all destroyed by human ships using weapons the aliens considered obsolete. But the real surprise came when the aliens tried to retaliate. Rodriguez was commanding a patrol near Earth orbit when his sensors detected incoming alien ships. 3 of them, moving fast and obviously angry about the recent attacks. "All stations, battle alert," he announced. "Looks like our alien friends want to play." The alien ships opened fire first, using the same energy displacement weapons that had destroyed the military bases. But Rodriguez had been expecting this. "Evasive maneuvers, pattern Delta," he ordered. The Defiance twisted and spun through space in seemingly random patterns. The alien targeting systems, designed to track large, predictable military formations, couldn't keep up with the chaotic movement. "Return fire! All weapons!" Rodriguez commanded. Again, the human ship used kinetic weapons against energy shields. But this time, Rodriguez had a surprise for the aliens. "Fire solution Bravo," he ordered. Instead of single projectiles, the Defiance launched a cloud of smaller objects, each one a guided missile carrying a conventional explosive warhead. The alien shields stopped the first few, but there were hundreds of them, all attacking from different angles. The lead alien ship's shields collapsed under the overwhelming assault. Conventional explosives tore into its hull. Within minutes, the elegant vessel was drifting debris. The other 2 alien ships retreated immediately. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," the communications officer reported. "Put it through." Ambassador Velthar's voice filled the bridge, but now he sounded confused and angry rather than confident. "Humans, your resistance is pointless. You cannot match our technology. Surrender now and your destruction will be swift." Rodriguez smiled. "Tell the ambassador that humans don't surrender. We just get creative." As his ship returned to Earth, Rodriguez knew the real war was just beginning. The aliens had expected easy conquest of a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand: human stubbornness, creativity, and the absolute refusal to give up no matter how bad the odds looked. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who doesn't know when they're supposed to lose. The 30-day ultimatum expired at midnight, Greenwich Mean Time. The aliens kept their promise. 12 massive fleets appeared at the edge of the solar system, each one larger than Earth's entire space program. The ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields that could deflect anything humanity might throw at them. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the EDS Terra, humanity's flagship. Around her, the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled waited for orders. 50 ships, each one built in the frantic weeks since first contact. They looked like a child's toys compared to the alien armada approaching them. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," her communications officer announced. "Put it through." Ambassador Velthar's image appeared on the main screen. The alien looked like a living crystal, beautiful and cold. When he spoke, his voice carried the absolute certainty of someone who had never lost a battle. "Admiral Vasquez, of Earth, I offer you one final chance to surrender. Your species will be relocated to a suitable world where you can live under proper supervision. Refuse, and we will eliminate every trace of human civilization. Elena had been a Navy commander before the aliens arrived. She had fought pirates in the South China Sea and terrorists in the Mediterranean. But she had never faced odds like this. "Ambassador Velthar," she replied calmly. "I have a message from the people of Earth." Velthar waited, probably expecting humanity's surrender. Go to hell. The aliens' crystalline features showed what might have been surprise. "Then, you have chosen extinction." "No," Elena said. "We've chosen to fight." The first battle began near Jupiter. The alien fleet moved with mechanical precision, their formations perfect, and their tactics textbook examples of space warfare. They had fought this battle 1,000 times against 100 different species. They had never fought humans. Elena's fleet scattered the moment the battle started. Instead of forming defensive lines or maintaining formation, the human ships flew in all directions like startled birds. To the aliens, it looked like panic. It wasn't panic. It was strategy. "All ships, execute Plan Chaos," Elena ordered. The human fleet had no formation because formations were predictable. Instead, each ship captain had been given simple orders: cause as much damage as possible and never do what the enemy expects. Captain Rodriguez, now commanding a squadron of fast attack ships, led his vessels in a diving attack toward the alien rear guard. The alien commanders had positioned their weakest ships there, expecting the main human attack to come from the front. "Sir, the aliens are trying to target us," his weapons officer reported. "Then let's not be where they're shooting," Rodriguez replied. His ships twisted through space in patterns that made no tactical sense. The alien targeting computers, designed for logical opponents, couldn't predict where the humans would be next. Rodriguez's squadron struck the alien supply ships with everything they had: nuclear missiles, kinetic projectiles, even chemical explosives, anything that could damage an alien hull. Meanwhile, Admiral Vasquez led the main fleet in what appeared to be a suicidal charge directly at the alien command ship. The aliens opened fire with weapons that could vaporize asteroids, but the human ships kept coming. At the last moment, the human fleet scattered again, but 3 ships didn't turn away: Captain Kim of the EDS Seoul, Captain Okafor of the EDS Lagos, and Captain Petrov of the EDS Moscow flew their vessels directly into the alien formation. "All ships, this is Seoul Actual," Captain Kim announced calmly. "It has been an honor serving with you." The 3 ships detonated their nuclear reactors simultaneously, creating 3 miniature suns in the heart of the alien fleet. The explosions tore through alien shields and armor, destroying 6 ships and crippling a dozen more. The alien fleet reeled from the unexpected attack. They had faced suicide tactics before, but never with such precision and coordination. Most species used desperate last stands when they were losing. The humans were using them as weapons. "Admiral, the aliens are regrouping," Elena's tactical officer reported. "They're pulling back to long range." Elena smiled grimly. "Then we follow them. All ships, pursuit course." What followed was unlike any space battle in galactic history. The aliens tried to maintain distance and use their superior weapons, but the humans refused to cooperate. Human ships darted in and out of alien formations, striking fast and disappearing before the aliens could respond. The human tactics made no sense to alien military doctrine. Individual ships abandoned their comrades to pursue targets of opportunity. Entire squadrons broke formation to attack single enemy vessels. Damaged human ships rammed alien vessels instead of retreating. It was chaos. It was insane. It was devastating. "Sir, we've captured 3 alien ships," Rodriguez reported over the communications net. "Crews are intact, but their command structure has collapsed." Elena frowned. "Collapsed how?" "The crews are just sitting there, Admiral. They won't fight, won't run, won't even talk. It's like they've given up. This was the moment Elena realized that humanity's greatest advantage wasn't their weapons or their tactics. It was something the aliens couldn't understand or counter. "All ships, cease fire and secure prisoners," she ordered. An hour later, Elena stood in the interrogation room aboard the Terra, facing the captured alien commander. The being looked like Velthar, but smaller and somehow dimmer. "I am Admiral Vasquez of Earth," she said. "You are my prisoner." The alien stared at her with what might have been confusion. "This is not how war is conducted." "How do you conduct war?" "There are rules, formations, strategies passed down through millennia, order and discipline." Elena began to understand. "What happens when someone breaks your rules?" "No one breaks the rules. All civilized species follow proper military doctrine. All except humans." The alien nodded slowly. "Your species fights like madness itself. We cannot predict your actions, because your actions have no logic." Elena leaned forward. "Let me explain something about humans. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've tried every strategy, every tactic, every dirty trick you can imagine. When you attack us with standard military doctrine, it's like playing chess against someone who's been playing chess since childhood." She paused, watching the alien process this information. "But we don't just play chess. We also play poker, and war is the ultimate poker game. It's not about having the best cards. It's about making your opponent think you have the best cards." The alien commander's expression changed to something like fear. "Your entire species is insane." "Maybe. But we're alive and your friends are running away." Through the interrogation room's window, Elena could see the alien fleet retreating toward the outer solar system. They had come expecting easy conquest and found something they had never encountered in a million years of galactic warfare. They had found opponents who cheated. "What will you do with us?" the alien commander asked. Elena stood up. "That depends on what you tell me about your galactic hegemony, because this battle is over, but the war is just beginning." As the alien fleet limped away from Jupiter, Admiral Velthar sent an urgent message to the hegemony capital. The message was simple but terrifying. "Request immediate reinforcements. The humans are not what we expected. They fight without honor, without logic, without predictable patterns. They turn their weaknesses into strengths and their defeats into victories. We need a new strategy." The response came back within hours. "No species has ever resisted the hegemony successfully. Adapt your tactics and complete the mission." Velthar looked at the tactical displays showing his damaged fleet and wondered how to explain that tactics meant nothing against opponents who ignored all tactical doctrine. Behind him, his communications officer worked frantically to decode human transmissions. What he found made his crystalline skin dim with fear. The humans weren't retreating to Earth to lick their wounds. They were building more ships, hundreds of them. And they weren't defensive ships. They were invasion vessels. Elena Vasquez had been right. The battle for Jupiter was over, but the war was just beginning, and for the first time in galactic history, the hegemony was going to find out what it felt like to be on the losing side. Admiral Sarah Chen stepped onto the bridge of her flagship, the EDS Retribution, and looked out at the most beautiful sight she had ever seen. 200 human warships hung in space around Earth, their hulls gleaming with purpose. Each one was different, some sleek and fast, others massive and heavily armed. All of them were ready for war. "Admiral, the fleet reports ready for departure," her executive officer announced. Sarah nodded. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Jupiter. 3 months of frantic construction, desperate innovation, and careful planning. Earth's industries had been converted to a war footing that would have seemed impossible before the aliens arrived. Now humanity was ready to take the fight to the enemy. "Set course for the Zephyrian home system," Sarah ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth." The captured alien databases had provided humanity with detailed star charts and intelligence about the galactic hegemony. The Zephyrians were the military leaders of the Alliance, the ones who had planned Earth's destruction. They would be the first to learn that attacking humanity had been a terrible mistake. 6 weeks later, Sarah's fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system. What they found was both more and less than they had expected. Thapa. Zephyrian homeworld was magnificent, a planet covered in crystal cities that rose like frozen music from the surface. Orbital platforms surrounded the world like jewelry, each one a work of art in metal and energy. It was also completely undefended. "Admiral, we're detecting minimal military presence," the sensor officer reported. "A few patrol ships, some orbital, defense platforms. Nothing that could threaten the fleet." Sarah frowned. "Where are their defenses?" "Ma'am, I think this is their defense. Look at these energy readings." The tactical display showed the true nature of the Zephyrian system. Every orbital platform was a weapon. Every crystal city contained defensive systems. The entire planet was a fortress. But it was a fortress designed to fight traditional space battles, not the kind of war humans preferred. All ships implement the Vandal Protocol, Sarah ordered. The human fleet split into small groups and spread throughout the system. Instead of attacking the heavily defended planet, they went after targets the Zephyrians had never thought to protect. Communication. Satellites simply disappeared, destroyed by human ships too small to show up on Zephyrian sensors. Power transmission stations between the orbital platforms went dark as kinetic projectiles punched through their cores. Supply convoys found themselves under attack by opponents who vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Within hours, the magnificent Zephyrian defense network began to fall apart. Not because the humans were stronger, but because they attacked the connections that held it together. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the planet," the communications officer announced. "Put it through." The face that appeared on screen was crystalline and beautiful, but cracked with stress lines. "I am Defense Coordinator Zelvash of Zephyria Prime. Your attacks violate all accepted rules of warfare. You cannot strike civilian targets." Sarah leaned forward. "Coordinator, let me explain something. Those communication satellites you call civilian targets, they're coordinating your military responses. Those power stations, they're feeding energy to your weapons. In human warfare, those are legitimate military targets. But the rules. Your rules, not ours. We never agreed to fight by your rules." Sarah cut the connection and turned to her tactical officer. "Status report. Zephyrian Defense Network is down to 30% effectiveness. Their orbital platforms can't coordinate with each other. Half their ground-based weapons are offline. Then, it's time for Phase 2, launch the infiltration teams." What followed was something the galaxy had never seen before. While the main human fleet kept the Zephyrian military busy, small teams of humans in stealth suits landed on the crystal world itself. Captain Rodriguez led one of these teams. His mission was simple: disable the Planetary Defense Control Center. The building was located in the heart of the capital city, surrounded by millions of Zephyrian civilians. "Sir, how do we get to the target without harming civilians?" his demolitions expert asked. Rodriguez smiled. "We asked them to move." The human infiltration teams did something no invading force in galactic history had ever done. They walked up to Zephyrian civilians and politely asked for directions. The Zephyrians, who had lived in peace for centuries, had no idea how to respond. Their military had told them that humans were savage barbarians who destroyed everything in their path, but these humans said please and thank you and went out of their way to avoid damaging civilian property. "Excuse me," Rodriguez said to a Zephyrian shopkeeper speaking through his translation device. "Could you tell me how to get to the Defense Control Center? We need to turn off your planetary weapons so our ships stop shooting at them." The shopkeeper, a being that looked like Living Diamond, stared at him in confusion. "You're asking for directions to attack us?" Well, when you put it that way, it sounds rude. But yes, we'll try not to break anything important. The shopkeeper actually gave him directions. Within 6 hours, human teams had infiltrated every major military installation on Zephyria Prime. They didn't destroy the facilities, they simply turned them off. Defense shields went down, weapon systems powered off, and communication networks went silent. The Zephyrian military found themselves blind, deaf, and defenseless against an enemy who had asked politely for directions to their weak points. "Admiral, the planet's defense network is completely offline," Rodriguez reported from the surface. "But we've got a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The Zephyrians want to surrender, but they don't know how. Apparently no one in the galactic hegemony has ever surrendered before. They don't have the words for it in their language." Sarah rubbed her temples. "Are you telling me we have to teach our enemies how to give up?" "Yes, ma'am. Also, they're asking if we want some tea. Apparently, it's rude not to offer refreshments to visitors. This was not how galactic conquest was supposed to work. But then again, humans had never been very good at doing things the way they were supposed to be done." 2 days later, Sarah found herself sitting in the crystal palace of the Zephyrian leadership, drinking something that tasted like liquid starlight, and explaining the concept of surrender to beings who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. "So, you see," she said to the assembled Zephyrian council, "surrender means you stop fighting and agree to negotiate. We don't destroy your cities, you don't try to kill us, and we figure out a way to coexist. But in galactic law, the defeated species is eliminated or enslaved," said Council Leader Vexthane. "Whose law?" "The architects established these laws eons ago. All civilized species follow them." Sarah leaned forward. "Tell me about these architects." What she learned changed everything. The galactic hegemony wasn't a natural alliance of species. It was the remnant of an ancient empire controlled by beings called the architects who had shaped galactic civilization for millions of years. Every member species of the hegemony had been genetically and culturally modified to fit specific roles. The Zephyrians were soldiers, bred for obedience and tactical precision. The Korthak were administrators, their hive minds perfect for managing vast bureaucracies. Other species handled different functions: exploration, construction, research. But they were all artificial. Their natural evolution had been stopped and redirected to serve the architect's vision of perfect order. "Where are these architects now?" Sarah asked. "At the Nexus, the capital of all civilization. They guide the galaxy from there." Sarah stood up. "Then that's where we're going next." "You cannot challenge the architects," Vexthane said, his crystal form dimming with fear. "They created everything. They control everything." "They didn't create humans," Sarah replied, "and they definitely don't control us." As Sarah's fleet prepared to leave Zephyrian space, she sent a message back to Earth. The message was simple, but would change galactic history. Mission successful. Zephyrian system secured with minimal casualties. Proceeding to next objective. Have discovered that the real enemy isn't the hegemony, it's whoever is controlling them. Recommend all available fleets converge on coordinates I'm transmitting. We're going to finish this. Behind her, the Zephyrian world continued its daily life. But something had changed. For the first time in millions of years, a hegemony species had met opponents who didn't follow the ancient rules. The Zephyrians were beginning to remember what they had been before the architects changed them. They were beginning to remember what it felt like to be free. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can give a sapient being is hope. The Nexus hung in space like a mechanical god, a structure so vast that planets orbited around it like moons. It had been built millions of years ago by the architects, and from here, they had controlled the galaxy with perfect order and absolute authority. Captain Marcus Rodriguez stood on the bridge of his command ship, staring at the ancient station through the viewport. Around him, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled prepared for the final battle. 500 ships from Earth, supported by vessels from a dozen newly liberated worlds that had joined the human rebellion. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the station," his communications officer announced. The main screen lit up with an image that made Rodriguez's skin crawl. The curator appeared to be part machine, part organic matter, all wrong. It had been beautiful once, perhaps, but eons of modification had turned it into something that barely looked alive. "So," the curator said, its voice like grinding metal, "the Chaos Bringers have finally arrived. I have been waiting for you, humans of Earth." Rodriguez kept his expression neutral. "Have you now? And why is that?" "Because you are the first true randomness I have encountered in 10 million years. Do you know what I am?" "An architect. The last one, according to our intelligence." The curator's mechanical laughter was horrible to hear. "I was an architect, yes. But I am so much more now. I am order itself. I am stability. I am the force that keeps the galaxy from tearing itself apart with chaotic evolution." "Sounds boring," Rodriguez replied. "Boring?" The curator seemed genuinely surprised. "I have eliminated war, suffering, and uncertainty from a million worlds. I have created perfect societies where every being knows their place and serves their function. Like I said, boring." Rodriguez cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "All ships, begin the assault. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species in the galaxy that wants the right to choose their own path." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The Nexus was defended by automated systems of incredible power, weapons that could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. The human alliance should have been annihilated in minutes. Instead, they did what humans always did when faced with impossible odds. They cheated. "Deploy the ghost ships," Rodriguez ordered. Throughout the human fleet, empty vessels detached from the main ships. These were decoys, unmanned craft broadcasting false signals to confuse the Nexus's targeting systems. While the station's weapons fired at phantoms, the real human ships slipped through the defensive perimeter. But the real battle wasn't happening in space. Deep inside the Nexus, a team of human computer specialists led by Dr. Sarah Chen was fighting a different kind of war. "The curator's main consciousness is distributed throughout the station's computer network," Sarah explained to her team as they moved through the ancient corridors. "We can't destroy it with explosives. We have to beat it in cyberspace." The Yade team included some of Earth's most brilliant hackers, programmers, and digital warfare specialists. They had been chosen not for their credentials, but for their creativity. People who had spent years finding ways around security systems, breaking into networks that were supposed to be impenetrable. "Dr. Chen, we're at the Central Access Node," announced Jake Morrison, a former cybercriminal who had been released from prison specifically for this mission. Sarah plugged her portable computer into the alien system and immediately felt the curator's presence pressing against her mind. The ancient intelligence was vast, powerful, and utterly convinced of its own righteousness. "You cannot stop me," the curator's voice echoed through the network. "I am order. I am stability. I am everything this galaxy needs to survive." "Maybe," Sarah replied, her fingers flying over her keyboard. "But you're also incredibly boring." What followed was a battle fought with code instead of weapons. The curator attacked with programs designed to suppress chaos and impose order. Sarah's team fought back with viruses that celebrated randomness, algorithms that generated beautiful unpredictability, and data structures that grew and evolved in ways the curator couldn't control. "It's not working," Jake said, sweat beading on his forehead. "The system is too stable. Every attack we make gets absorbed and neutralized." Sarah smiled. "That's because we're fighting on its terms. Time to change the game." She pulled out a data crystal that looked completely ordinary. "Jake, upload this to the main network." "What is it?" "Every meme, joke, viral video, and piece of internet randomness that humanity has created in the last 50 years. 20 terabytes of pure, unfiltered human creativity. Jake stared at her. You want to defeat an ancient artificial intelligence with memes? The curator has spent millions of years creating perfect order. It's never encountered anything truly chaotic. This should be interesting. The effect was immediate and devastating. The moment the data uploaded, the curator's consciousness began to fragment. Its perfect, orderly mind couldn't process the sheer randomness of human internet culture. Cat videos crashed into philosophical discussions. Conspiracy theories collided with cooking recipes. Memes evolved and mutated faster than the curator could analyze them. "What is this?" the curator screamed through the network, its voice distorting with digital pain. "This is not data! This is chaos!" "Welcome to humanity," Sarah replied. The ancient intelligence that had controlled the galaxy for eons found itself drowning in a sea of human creativity. Every attempt to impose order just made the chaos worse. The more it tried to understand why humans found certain things funny, the more its logical systems broke down. Outside the station, the battle was turning. The Nexus's weapons were firing randomly as the curator lost control. Some shots missed their targets completely. Others hit the station's own defensive systems. "Captain, the station's shields are failing," Rodriguez's tactical officer reported. "Whatever Dr. Chen is doing in there, it's working." But the real change was happening throughout the galaxy. As the curator's control weakened, something unprecedented began to occur on worlds that had been stable for millions of years. On Zephyria Prime, crystal beings began creating art for the first time in their species' recorded history. On the Korthak worlds, individual minds began separating from the collective consciousness, discovering the joy of independent thought. Across 1,000 worlds, beings who had been bred for specific functions started exploring what else they might become. "Stop this!" the curator demanded, its voice now clearly desperate. "You don't understand what you're doing. Without order, without guidance, these species will destroy themselves." "Maybe," Sarah admitted, still working at her computer. "Or maybe they'll surprise you. That's what freedom means. The right to fail, but also the right to succeed in ways no one expected." The curator made one final attempt to save its vision of galactic order. It offered Sarah everything: power over the galaxy, immortality, the chance to guide human evolution along perfect paths. "Join me," it pleaded. "Together we can create a universe without suffering, without uncertainty, without chaos." Sarah paused in her typing. For a moment, she was tempted. The curator's offer was seductive, an end to all the messy, painful, unpredictable aspects of sentient existence. Then she thought about her sister Elena, who had died fighting for humanity's freedom. She thought about Captain Rodriguez and his crew, who had risked everything to reach this place. She thought about every human who had refused to surrender, even when surrender would have been easier. "No," she said simply. "Chaos is what makes life worth living." Her final program uploaded into the Nexus's core systems. It was elegant in its simplicity, a virus that did nothing but ask questions. What if things were different? What if there was another way? What if change was possible? The curator, an intelligence built on absolute certainty, could not survive constant questioning. Its consciousness scattered like light through a prism, breaking apart into millions of fragments that could no longer control anything. Throughout the Nexus, ancient systems shut down. The weapons stopped firing. The control networks went dark. For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy was free. Sarah and her team made their way back to the docking bay, where Rodriguez was waiting with a rescue ship. "Is it over?" he asked. Sarah looked back at the dying station, where emergency lights flickered weakly in the darkness. "The curator is gone. The control systems are down. But what happens next is up to everyone else." As the human fleet departed, The Nexus, they left behind something more valuable than any technology or weapon. They left behind the idea that change was possible, that the way things had always been done wasn't the only way to do them. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed. Some species embraced their newfound freedom immediately. Others struggled, with concepts they hadn't needed for millions of years. A few tried to rebuild the old order, but found that the idea of choice had spread too far to be contained. Humanity didn't rule this new galaxy. They had never wanted to. Instead, they became the random element that kept everything interesting. Human traders carried new ideas between worlds. Human artists taught alien species to see beauty in imperfection. Human philosophers asked uncomfortable questions that no one had thought to ask before. 5 years later, Sarah Chen stood in the gardens of New Geneva, Earth's